Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be dealing with some mounted orchids with you guys. So I purchased some orchids that were mounted despite the fact that I usually try and avoid these because I couldn't find any not mounted, to be honest. I think their growth pattern lends themselves quite well to being mounted. However, mounts don't really work very well in my environment, so I am going to have to unmount these, and what I will do is just put them in tall pots and put them at the edge of shelves so they can cascade down if they like. But particularly one of them, the Angraecum, likes to be kept very moist, which is this little guy here. And I just can't do that on a mount. My humidity isn't particularly high, so mounts dry out very quickly. 60% humidity sounds reasonable, but it's not ideal for mounting or growing orchids bare root or in baskets without any media. So I am going to be unmounting these guys with you. So if I just talk you through what they are, this is the Angraecum distichum. Which is a really cute little Angraecum, which has got these kind of succulent leaves that just kind of cascade down. I absolutely love it. So he's going to go into a tall pot in semi-hydro with leca, which all my other Angraecums love. But I'm going to mix pumice in and put pumice as a top layer because that seems to be stopping the top layer of inorganic media drying out in like a self-watering system. So that's what we're going to do for this guy. This one is the Dendrobium leonis. I think it's losing the leaves on this one, you can see. It's got lots of new growths there coming in. Nice long growth there, which is growing fresh, a fresh leaf there. So I couldn't find loads of information on this. It seems like eventually, when they get quite old, the canes do lose their leaves, but it's not like an annual deciduous dendrobium. It's just kind of it seems to be a several years that they will keep growing, keep their leaves. So this must be quite an old growth that it's kind of losing now. I'm really excited to have this one because I absolutely love it. I love the succulent type orchids with these gorgeous leaves. You can see I've got quite a bit of algae coming off on my hands here and actually on the orchid. So I'm just going to wipe that down. So yeah, you can see it quite clearly on the more yellowing cane here. So it's obviously been kept very moist, like the whole plant has been probably showered multiple times a day. And I got these from Besgrow Orchideen in France. They had the Dendrobium, leonis and anceps, which is the next one I'm going to show you. And then Spice Exotic Plants in the UK had the little Angraecum distichum. So yeah, that is, I think, about as clean as I'm going to get it without damaging these. Now, these do have quite a lot of like soil mites in the mounts. I noticed when I've been soaking these for several hours to try and just soften the root system up. I actually got them about a week ago and I've just been soaking them every day. It's kind of annoying to keep up with, to be honest. It doesn't really fit in with my routine very well. So I decided today was the day and I was gonna unmount them and take you along with me. So this one as well is gonna be going into a kind of tall pot in an inorganic media setup. We'll see how it goes. It's got very fine roots. Tends to indicate that the plant is more moisture loving when they have these kind of fine roots. I've found just from past experience. Luckily it doesn't look like these roots are going too deeply into the mount. I can see one here going down, but this mount's very crumbly. It's a cork mount, so you can kind of just, you see, pull away the mount, so it shouldn't be too hard. Now, the one that I'm debating actually not unmounting is this guy. So this is the Dendrobium anceps. Absolutely gorgeous dendrobium. Just look at these lovely, like luscious, succulent leaves. And it can flower all the way along the canes here. It's not just like the leonis, I believe, only flowers at the end of the canes. This one can just produce flowers all along. So it can be really quite a show. Unfortunately, or very fortunately, look at this root system. Look at it, it's just like going into the mount, around the mount. All of the new root tips are growing down into the mount there. I really think this is going to be horrific to take off this mount, because this mount is now mainly roots and I'm just going to rip the whole root system apart trying to get it off. So I'm considering for this what I've done with one of my previously mounted Rhynchostylus celestis, which is literally just taking the whole mount and popping it into a pot and just filling around it. It's not ideal, obviously these roots are always already off the mount here. They're going to dry out very quickly. It's not ideal to put this mount into an inorganic media setup, but I don't really think I have much of a choice, to be honest, because I'm not prepared to rip the whole root system apart to get it off the mount. So I think the mount and the plant is going to be potted, and I'll just have to see how that goes. Again, we've got lots of algae on the plant itself here. So I've been soaking these mounted orchids for several hours. They've been getting nutrient soaks every day for the last week. So in theory, they are well nourished and well hydrated and prepared for a change of environment. Yeah, so I think we're going to start with the easiest ones first. And then we will have a look at that Dendrobium anceps after. Firstly, the Angraecum distichum. Gonna remove the tag and the wire that is holding the orchid on to this ceramic mount. Ooh. Well, that was easy. Apparently it doesn't have that many roots though. I guess it had only just been mounted when I got it. Yeah, there's like very few roots on this. So I'm not sure why it actually looks so good, because it really doesn't have that many good roots. Although you can see there's some new roots kind of coming out here. So that was very easy. Going to pop it into the pot like that, kind of so it can cascade over the side of the pot there. And I'm just going to put the top layer as pumice. Okay, so that is the Angraecum distichum all potted up. So the pumice retains more moisture than the leca, so it's ideal for a top layer. My other Angraecums, which are a very diverse genus, to be honest, but they all really enjoy more moisture, and the semi-hydro really works for them. Because this is kind of more of a miniature, I think that it will enjoy a bit more of the moisture that the pumice can give it, rather than the sometimes slightly dry top layer that I get with leca. So that is that one done, and I will keep you updated as to how it goes. So the next one that we're going to do is the Dendrobium leonis. So I'm going to take the tag off first. And that was a piece of string that just slid past, and then it's mounted with string, so we're just going to snip all of the string that's holding the orchid on. Could get a bit messy, so I'm just going to do this over the bin liner that I've already put in here. So the string has all been snipped through. So these are going to come off. So all the string that was holding the orchid on has just been taken off now. You can see that the top layer of roots wasn't actually attached. I think it's the bottom roots that were really attached. So just going to have to see how attached. So if I break this open, in theory it should break where the roots have caused weak points. That's the theory. This is how I personally like to unmount things, and that are on cork, because the roots will have just gone down into the cork there. So usually you can kind of find where the root goes in and just kind of remove, like for that one, you can see the root goes in just at the bottom there and then goes through the cork and around the top. So I'm actually just going to leave that a little bit on because that's a growing root tip there. And you can see why I'm doing this over the bin. It gets extremely messy when you've got decomposing kind of cork mounts. Okay. So you can see all the nice growing root tips there, which are all intact. I've not damaged them, which is fantastic news because that is always a worry. Can you see like the cork breaks apart where the roots have gone in? So I think that this is quite a good way to do it. And even if you have to leave a few little bits of cork on, that's fine. Especially since we're putting it into an inorganic setup, we're not going to have to worry really about the media acidifying. So I'm just going to try. I've just got one more bit to get now, really. Oh, there you go, free little root there. So I think that is about as good as we're going to get. This seems to be a layer of moss underneath that we've, dead roots potentially, but you've got all of those new growing root tips all just in there. So I think I'm just going to rinse this off at the tap and leave it alone. I'm really over the stage of getting every single bit of organic media off the roots. Like I would rather leave root tips intact and a bit of organic media on, that eventually it will just decompose and flush through the pot. Like it's not the end of the world, or when you repot you can get it because it's been soaking for a while and it's become very soft. But why break root tips when it's going into an inorganic setup anyway? So it's not going to be an acidic environment. Try and get off some of this dead stuff, but yeah, like I said, I'm not worried about it. Right, so I'm just going to wash this guy off. Okay, so that's all been washed off, and when I was washing it off, I don't know if it was already broken and I just hadn't noticed it, but this cane that's yellowing here seems to be broken at this join. So I think I'm just going to take it off. Maybe what are the chances of it sprouting a new growth, do you think? Should I just stick it in the pot and see if it happens? So all these new root tips at the bottom here are actually coming from the new growths here. So this is a really good state to kind of repot it in. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just layered leca and pumice, and quite a lot of pumice in this mix because we want it to stay nice and moist. And I'm just going to pop him in the top there. And I am going to pop that broken cane in there as well. I don't really know what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to position all the new growths so they're facing upwards. Okay, so hopefully that top layer will stay nice and moist yet airy. And show you around. These are all the new growths here. And then the older growths coming over the side here, and I've just stuck that new cane, that old cane that kind of fell off. You never know. I really don't know the capacity of this type of dendrobium to produce keikis or new growths from an older cane. Yeah, I've got no idea. So in theory, it potentially could put out a new growth with some new roots, but I'm not totally sure. So we will see. But yeah, hopefully it'll do well in this setup. Then again, I will keep you updated with this. Okay, and the last one is the Dendrobium anceps here. I have no idea what to do here in this situation. I'm going to start by at least just removing the string that's attaching was attaching the orchid to the mount before it became a monster. Okay, so string is removed, not that it's really going to do us any good. Can you see all the new roots that are actually coming up through the mount? Yeah, I'm really not a fan of the idea of taking this one off, so I think we're going to go with the original plan and just put them in a pot and hope for the best, really, because I am not going to damage all of those roots. So the bottom's filled up with leca, and I'm just going to wind these roots into the pot. The mount has just kind of sat in the pot there. So I'm just going to fill around that with a mixture of leca and pumice. It's in a self-watering pot, it'll keep it evenly moist, and we're going to have to see how that goes. Okay, so that is done. I've potted it up, the mount is in the pot. It's going to be over the edge of the pot. I really much prefer this kind of style anyway. This is the kind of composition. You've got quite a lot of air around the roots still, hopefully. Like I said, this really kind of isn't an ideal potting method, but it's kind of the best that I could think to do in this situation without kind of completely destroying the plant. So I'm really hopeful that it will enjoy this. And like I say, I have done this before with a mount and just kind of put it in the pot. So it is something I've done before, but before when I did it, the mount wasn't going into such a moist system. It was just going into a basket filled with bark and moss. Whereas this is going into kind of a self-watering pot. So the only issue is that this mount is going to potentially decompose faster, but it already looks pretty decomposed. It's mostly roots. Like, yeah, it's a difficult situation and definitely not an ideal potting setup, but I think considering the circumstances, this is kind of the best that I could do, unfortunately. There are going to be some people watching who love growing mounted orchids who will be like, oh, why did you do that? And I bet you kind of wish that you could get a hold of this orchid yourself to grow, since it's done so well on this mount. But if I've offended anyone deeply by unmounting these and potting them, I do apologise. It just doesn't work in my environment mounting orchids. So yeah, I've unmounted them and potted these guys, and I will keep you updated on their progress. It's always a little bit risky when you switch a potting media dramatically. So roots that have grown into the air, potting them doesn't always work. It doesn't always fail though, would be my point to make. So I've done it before, where I've taken things off mounts and put them into like self-watering with leca, and the roots have just thrived and taken off and not died. I've done that with one of my Angraecums that I've got, and I've also done it with a small Vanda that I have. It doesn't always work either. There's definitely cases where it could fail, where the roots die off, but hopefully they'll produce new roots into the pots. And these are new types of orchids for me. I absolutely love the appearance of the leaves. So these are kind of my orchids. Oh, I also did this with my Angraecum leonis before, which is kind of the similar kind of shape to this, but a large Angraecum. It really did well. It's growing new roots down into the self-watering pot, so hopefully this little guy will like it also. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did enjoy this video, then give this a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates, and I will see you guys later. Bye!